You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, we are joined by someone who truly embodies the spirit of resiliency and transformation. Our guest is not only a coach and a healer, but also a beacon of hope for many navigating the complex journey of a midlife changes, not crisis, because it isn't a crisis, it's a change of attitude. From a small town in Pennsylvania to the high-stakes environment of the FBI, where she served as chief of staff for counterintelligence, not a simple job. Her career trajectory has been anything but ordinary. Her life has been a testament to overcoming adversity, facing bullies, battling breast cancer, conquering an autoimmune disease, and navigating the challenges of divorce and loss, all while maintaining her unique sense of humor and humanity. She believes that your struggle is your strength and has dedicated her life to helping women rediscover their power and write their comeback story. Combining her extensive background in project management with science of neuroplasticity and psychonumerology.
Psychoneuroimmunology.
Thank you. She offers a holistic right-left brain approach to achieving life goals. Our guest is a certified holistic health coach, a motivational speaker, a best-selling author, and a dynamic host of Your Comeback Story podcast. She's passionate about helping professional women over 40 recover from burnout, ditch limiting habits and beliefs, and reclaim their vitality without resorting to extreme diets or exhausted gym routines. You know those don't work. So if you ever find yourself in a car with her, expect to sing along, probably loudly and off-key, to the 80s hits. And if you get her laughing, prepared for a joyful snort. Despite her outward gregarious, she's a profound introvert with a personality that combines the INTJ, D/C, and Enneagram Type 1 traits, promising results delivered in the most genuine and perhaps comfy way. So please welcome, in joining the remarkable, the resilient, Holly Bertone. Holly?
My goodness, you've already had me starting.
The goals are already set for this episode.
We're done.
I'm hanging up the mic.
Okay, I've got 2 things to say. First of all, when I listen to your intro, I feel like I'm back in like high school and sitting in the theater waiting for just some awesome movie to come on the screen. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is going to be so cool.
And then you realize, oh wait, that's me.
Right. And then number 2, I'm going to hire you to rewrite my bio because whatever you did is so much better.
You're very welcome. So that, you know, I've always been told that I have a voice for radio, more specifically a face, but I prefer the nicer voice for radio. And I love my voice, love speaking. I hate listening to my voice. 10 years in corporate will do that to you. and in a call center. But second, I love hip hop. Hip hop is like my genre, and I never could rap. Like, I know I could not do that, but I know I can hype people up. I'm like the ultimate wingman, my friends used to say. So I look at myself as I'm the hype person for the main attraction, which is you. So my job's just to hype you up and hype up the crowd listening to be like, who is this person that Phil has on the podcast?
Yeah, I'm wondering that too. So I hope I live up to everyone's.
Listen, you work for the FBI and counterintelligence as was it the assistant chief to this?
The chief of staff.
The chief of staff for counterintelligence. Like, you're going to provide. Like, I have no doubt about it. But Holly, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. And anytime you need someone to hype you up, I'm fully available.
I've got you on speed dial.
You got me on speed dial. Anything you need, I'll record for you and hype you up. But Holly, we're going to just start off with why did you become an entrepreneur? You have like an amazing story. Like, you were the chief of staff for counterintelligence. Like, come on, that's like a guaranteed like life. Like, you're good until the next politician comes in. Then maybe it's politics. But why did you jump into the world of entrepreneurship?
Oh my goodness, that is such a good question. And and I think more so than that, I get asked so often, how did you go from FBI to being a holistic health coach? And I'm actually going to start this at the age of 10. And I know you were talking about your nephew earlier. When I was about 10 years old, my very favorite thing to do, and we had this huge dining room table, and I would take 3 different jigsaw puzzles. I'm talking 500,000 piece puzzles. And I would dump all of them out on the table. I'd mix them up, and then I would put them back together. So yeah, nerd alert.
I don't think nerd is the quite word for I would use. Like, that sounds like punishment to me. Not fun.
So yeah, I was obsessed. I love doing this. I actually just at my lunch break, I was listening to some meditations and I was putting a puzzle together. I still love putting puzzles together just one at a time these days. But that's the through line. Everyone's like, how did you get from point A to point B? That's the through line, is that I like to take messes and mix them up and put them back together. And the FBI, my experience at the FBI helped me. I wasn't an agent, but in project management, being able to look at trends, look at data analysis, take disparate pieces of the FBI in a post 9/11 era and put them together. When they're like, oh, no one's talking to each other. How did this happen? And that was part of what I did, was take different pieces of the FBI, the disparate pieces, and put them together so that the organization could talk to each other. And so that's the through line, is looking at the puzzle, putting things together, looking at the clues and solving the puzzle. And when I was at the FBI, I had this amazing career. I started in Quantico and ended up in headquarters. But during my tenure there, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on my 39th birthday, which, so that was surgery, chemo, radiation.
Fun.
Yeah, and that turned into an autoimmune disease, which turned into years of debilitating chronic fatigue that was so bad that I was pretty much bedridden. And my health was so bad, I couldn't work, and I was forced to resign. And this was my dream job since the age of 17. Like, I had always wanted to work for the FBI. And so that was a rock bottom unlike any other, because it wasn't just my health. It wasn't just not being able to work. At the time, I'm now divorced, but at the time I was a wife and a stepmother. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't take care of my husband. I couldn't take care of my stepson. But it was more so than that. It was this external validation of, I can't do anything, therefore I'm not successful, therefore I'm not worthy. And that was the rock bottom that was really, really hard to recover from. And at one point, I just woke up one day, I don't know, there was no lights from the sky or anything like that. There was no big catalyst. I just woke up one day and I said, I'm not okay living the rest of my life like this. And this was before functional medicine was really big. And I just decided to figure out a way how to heal myself. I mean, I go to the doctors and they'd shrug their shoulders and give me a prescription and it, didn't work. So I had to figure this out myself. And it took many years. I ended up becoming a holistic health coach in the process and realizing that there's a lot of pieces that traditional medicine misses. There's even a lot of pieces that traditional health coaching misses. And that was, again, the through line of taking this mess and putting the pieces together, looking for the clues and putting the pieces together for my own health, which then turned into being a holistic health coach and helping other women. And really, I focus on the preventative aspect of it because, we go down this path. I mean, your podcast is called Invest in Yourself. And we go down this path and we do all of the things for everyone else. We focus on our career, we focus on our spouse, we focus on our kids. We've got aging parents, we've got kids or grandkids or, church activities or volunteer activities and like all of these things. And we totally forget to take care of ourselves. So that's where I like to come in. And that's the through line of how it all happened.
So puzzles, you love puzzles. Is what I can take away from this.
Yeah, pretty much.
many talk we just had here is puzzles are the key to solving the world's issues. I'm going to start investing in puzzles.
Okay.
I can see them taking off, skyrocket. It's next investment. But I love how you were able to see how your love of puzzles from a young age played such a key role in discovering how you like to uncover the mess, uncover what is there in the mess. What's the picture? And I love that. And it speaks to you having done the work to heal yourself, both medically and spiritually with that holistic approach, to be able to take that outside look and see, I like messes. Like that.
I do.
Like that is amazing. And you've taken your love, your passion of messes, and you've cleaned up the mess that is your life, quote unquote, the mess that was provided to you with the resigning because of health and changing it and finding out that your passion, your job, your raison d'être, your reason of being is to clean up the messes that some people can't see. Like, I like to lift people up and see the forest from the tree. You like to clean up the ground around the tree to make sure that they can find the path forward.
Phil, can we talk about the mess for a second? Because you brought up something that happened recently. I was actually at a retreat with my mastermind, and you get a bunch of entrepreneurs and coaches in the same room, and it's like, oh, can I get some coaching? Oh, can I get some coaching? And everyone's like, getting coaching from each other with all of our different specialties. And I had a coaching conversation with a woman there, and obviously I'm not going to get into any details for privacy, but she was in a place where things were really messy. And I think so often when we go through these periods of life and I talk about, like, my whole brand's all about the comeback story. And, I think so often we think comeback, we think these, big life adversities. Like, I had, quite a few, I collect them like stamps, but we think of these big life adversities, but really it's about the day to day, and all of the pressures that we have, and just kind of coming back home to who we really are and not letting those pressures of the world affect us. But it's when we're in that mess, sometimes we need to be there.
Mm.
So, it's so often it's like, well, I got to get out of this, or other people judge you for being in the mess. You can think of things like a divorce or something like that. Like, I just recently went through a divorce that was kind of messy. So, but at the same time, when life is good, when life's all like rainbows and puppy kisses, and I've got a pug, so lots of puppy kisses. We don't learn the lessons. We just kind of go about our day just in this happy, blissful state, which is awesome. But when we're in the mess, like that's when we get to learn all the lessons. That's when we get to grow. That's when we get to like really find our grit and who we become. And that's just like, that's where the gold is. And I think so often we just, like I said, people want to judge us when we're in the mess, and we judge ourselves for being in the mess. And I'm not saying you got to be in the mess forever. I mean, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not be okay and not do something about it. There is a time and a place to come out of the mess, but that's when all the juicy stuff happens. So I just wanted to take a minute and say, you know what, there's the good stuff comes out of the mess.
No, the mess is important, because without it, you won't. I'm gonna go back to my analogy of the tree in the forest. Without the mess on the floor, you don't get the nutrients that solve it, because that mess is then decays, right? Once you're done with the mess, it starts decaying, dissolves, it builds up, gives you the nutrients you need to move forward. It builds that fortitude you need to move to the next stage of your life. Once you start cleaning up a little bit of the mess and you get those nutrients and you move on. I love it, because a mess is important, because that's where you do find the gold. If you're not in the hills looking for gold in the muck, you're not going to find the good stuff, right? So mess is important. It's part of life. Everything's not polished. And when everything's polished, like you said, when everything's puppy dog kisses and pug kisses and rainbows, you don't get the value. You don't learn the lessons that come with what you need to learn. I want to know, with pretty much getting like sucker punched by your cancer diagnosis, which I'm glad to hear, glad to see, and glad to hear that it's in remission and it's been beaten. And being your own personal like low point, what how did you realize that was your story? Like that was your comeback. That's the start of your comeback.
I think when I was in it, I just wanted to get out of it. And at some point, I don't know, I realized that this was kind of for a greater purpose. And I knew that I went through this not for my own, healing and journey, but I went through this to be a light for everyone else. And, every day of my life when I wake up, I thank God for the light and to be able to shine, and not realizing, daily prayers, what that turns into. And I think the biggest thing was just, especially this past year or so, being on my own after the divorce and really coming into the bigness of what that means. I think it's one thing to, grow and build and scale a business. I think it's another thing to show up in a place of service and to be that light. And, I'm a big proponent of the quiet and the silence, because we live in such a world full of noise everywhere around us. I mean, we can't even, all right, if you're listening, like virtually raise your hand. Whenever I give a speech, 100% of the hands go up. When you turn on the TV at the end of the day, it's at nighttime, you're on the couch, you turn on the TV, are you on your phone scrolling within 60 seconds after you turn that TV on? And the answer is probably yes. And I see you nodding.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be nodding, but
busted.
yes. Yeah, I'm busted. I called out to the teacher's office.
Yeah, but we live in so much noise. And it's not just the external noise, it's the internal noise in our head too. Like all of these just thoughts and, the negative beliefs and the limiting beliefs and, and especially as an entrepreneur, I mean, they're loud. And, and what I found was there was a time and a place for me to be in that quiet, to heal myself, to grow myself, to give myself the container to grow. And then there's a time and a place to be in the quiet so that your business can grow. But I think that you have to be you yourself have to be in that container of growth first before your business can grow, because it's going to grow to the size of the container.
Heavy. Heavy. I wasn't expecting something so heavy to be dropped on me, Holly. Speaking of this container and the self-growth, because it's pretty much what you do for women in their mid 40s and above, to combat burnout. While you were in your container, your quiet place, if you will, was that where you created the back to you method?
It is.
And it was. And
Yeah.
so how what are some of the core concepts of this, and how do you help women over 40 with burnout and reclaim their health or vitality without going into the extremeness?
Oh my goodness. I love this. I love this. Okay. This is the R.O.C.K.Y framework.
Okay.
And I was inspired, I was born in the 70s. So the original Rocky movie circa, 1976, the all-time best comeback movie, prove me wrong. So this is where the framework became inspired. But before I get into the framework, I really want to talk about what got us here in the first place, because what happens, and it kind of starts in our 20s and our 30s. And we go after this. I have to have the perfect job. I have to have the perfect spouse. I've got to have the 2.5 kids and the, picket fence and the big house and all of the things. And we chase after that. And then we get it. And then we're like, okay, why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled? And all of this is based on that external validation versus that internal validation. So then what happens is that we get to a point in, especially in our 40s, our body starts to change, and it does not in a good way sometimes. But what we do is we go through these, kind of yo-yo diets and, all of these different diets and protocols and, Weight Watchers and all of these things. And it works for about 2 weeks and we get excited. But then something happens, we get discouraged, we rely on willpower. That was going to last us for one more week. And then we are right back to where we started. And what happens is that when we try to, Albert Einstein said that everything's created twice. First, it's created in our mind, and then it manifests physically. So if we're in a place where we're trying to create our comeback story, and we're in a place where we've got this anger and fear and resentment and jealousy and all of these emotions and all of this, I've got to do the thing. And we try to do the thing, our future is going to become what we feed it. And then we're just going to go right back to where we were. So that's why it's not working. And I like to take a long-term sustainable approach. Everyone these days, especially in the health and wellness industry, it's like, lose all these pounds in X number of days. And I was like, yeah, no, we're about sustainability over on this side of the house. So it's going to take a little longer, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it's going to be sustainable and it's going to last. And your habits are going to be permanently changed, and you're going to love being healthy instead of oh my God, I hate being on this diet. So, but yeah, so the R.O.C.K.Y framework, R is rear view mirror. And we go right for the jugular. That is making peace with what got you to this place. So that's forgiveness with the situations, forgiveness with the other people, and more importantly, forgiveness with yourself. So we start right out the bat going for the jugular, and we just clear out that clogged drain. And then, so that's R, rear view mirror. O is own your ship with a P, like a boat. Or Canadian boat. I'll say a Canadian-ish boat. So that is what I like to call responsibility. And that is such an unpopular opinion these days. But it's not about blame or shame. It's not even about what got me here. It's what can I do from this point forward? It's how can I have agency in my life? Let's look at nutrition, movement, environmental toxins, lifestyle factors. the people in my lives, the relationships I have, like all of these things. As a holistic health coach, it's not just one thing, it's all of the things. Everyone loves to focus on weight because that's the one that screams the loudest, but it's everything. And so that's O, own your ship with a P, like a vote. C is create your future self. And this is where the fun begins. This is where we start to do the goal setting and the manifesting and really having fun figuring out what my future self wants to be and who my future self wants to be and what are those behaviors and actions and who I want to be, and then becoming that person. That's when the go button happens. That's when things start to get fun. So R.O.C.K. is keep the vision, not the view. And one thing that is 100% certain is that the obstacles are going to happen. Life is going to life. And everything's going to come in to want to derail you, even if it's just a rainy day or, an argument with your spouse or you're running late. And then all of a sudden, it's like your entire day's derailed. And the more stress that we have, the easier it is to get derailed. So the keep your vision, not the view is learning how to live your life in a place so that these obstacles don't just derail you every single day. So we've got R is rear view mirror. O is own your ship with a P, like a boat. C is create your future self. K is keep the vision, not the view. And then Y is coming back home to you. You talk about like the 80s movie montages and, at the end of the montage and the character's got this like big old smile. They're like, I got it inside me all the time. And that's really what it is. It's like, oh yeah, I had this inside of me all the time. And, looking at things like individual wellness, so, there's all these different protocols out there. Like, what am I supposed to do? And who am I supposed to listen to? Well, how about yourself? You're with yourself 24/7. So you're going to know yourself better than anyone else is going to know you. And, and just really being able to realize like, I have the answers inside. Yes, I want to surround myself with people and advisors, health-wise, business-wise, in all areas of my life. I want to surround myself with coaches and advisors, but I get the final say. I have the answers inside of me all along.
I love this. I love this R.O.C.K.Y. As a fan of action movies, and R.O.C.K.Y. is a relative action movie. I love it. I love how you took on something that was a cinephil's joy and brought it in. I can tell that you're probably a cinephile. You love those movies. I love it because it's so simplistic, and that's what we need in this world. I think we're trying to overcomplicate. The diets are overcomplicated. You have to follow this. You have to know this. I was able to lose 100 pounds from the beginning of 2020 to the end of 2020 by just fasting and walking. I kept it simple. I didn't take away things from me. I just said, you can only eat between these windows and you have to do a lot of walking. And it's just keeping things simple, keeping a vision of yourself in the future. Like you said, I did the R.O.C.K.Y. thing without even realizing, like, as I'm talking, I'm like, I did that. Oh, wow, I did do it without knowing it.
And what gets really meta is that not only does this work for your health, this works for all aspects of your life. This works for your business. This works for your relationships. I put it to the test going through a divorce and it worked.
If it can work in a divorce, it can work anywhere.
Yeah, it literally works in all aspects of your life.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm going to start doing that more often. Thank you, Holly. Already something, just that for me is the major takeaway from the episode, that I've been doing the R.O.C.K.Y. method health-wise, so might as well throw it into gear and go off. Like we were talking beforehand, how men have a linear escape and women just rock it up. I think this is because they know they do the R.O.C.K.Y. method.
And what was really cool? About a month or so ago, I went to Philly to visit a friend, and I was like, we have to do the R.O.C.K.Y. steps, and we just had so much fun. But can I just tell you, little kids, and I'm talking little kids, their parents weren't even born when the first R.O.C.K.Y. movie was out. Like, that's how little, and they are running up the stairs and they are singing the song like da da
Oh, that's amazing.
And it was so much fun to watch. I had more fun watching them experience the rocky stairs than I did running up myself.
I love that. And it calls back to an earlier episode where it's the advice at the end of the episode was to remember to be a kid. Just remember to be a kid and stay true to yourself and be weird. So like running up the stairs and singing the Rocky tune is a little weird. Like it's acceptable weird, but it's still kind of weird because like if you see someone else, you're like, what? Why are they singing that song? But yeah. Before we jump into the last question, this is my penultimate question for you, Holly. As someone who has gone through a lot of different changes in their life, and faced different challenges, what have you found to be a way that you've been able to invest in yourself to handle these situations, and possibly a piece of advice for the audience that they can take away from?
Ooh. I think I touched on it. The biggest investment is the quiet time. And I really, even to this day, I carve out quiet time every single day. I carve out time in the morning when I wake up. I carve out time at lunchtime in the middle of the day, and I carve out time at the end of the day. And for me, that's a non-negotiable because, and especially as an entrepreneur, you're pulled in a million different directions. I have an amazing team. You still get pulled in a million directions. And really, that's just the time to center myself. That's the time when the creativity happens, going out for a walk if it's a nice day, or just sitting and doing my puzzle if it's not so good weather day. But that's the time when, the thoughts happen, the creativity happens, that I'm not just so focused on, work. And that's when the solutions happen is really in that quiet time. So I know we touched on it a little bit, but that's the big one for me.
Hey, repeating it means it's more important and it's very specific. Holly, I have your 10-year-old self here. She's an amazing person, very smiley. I see that hasn't changed at all. I want to know, what is one piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self?
This is such a great question. And I would say to learn to give yourself internal validation rather than seeking external validation. To really understand that your value comes from within. Your value isn't what you do. Your value isn't your career. Your value isn't how much money you make, how big your house is, or what your business is like, how much you weigh. Your value comes from within, and your value is who you are as a person.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. It's great advice that we all need to hear every once in a while, from 10 years old to 40 into our mid 40s, going through some burnout, and a midlife crisis and all the crazy things that happen when we get to the certain age that our body's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah.
Holly, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to talk to my audience, talk to the ladies who are going through a midlife crisis and how they can connect and work with you. The floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. If you love this interview and you're interested in learning more about the R.O.C.K.Y framework, I have a free private podcast. We go into a deep dive into each of the R.O.C.K.Y framework. So there's 5 episodes. And the best part is at the very end, you get to take an assessment, and you can even schedule a free call with me to go over your results. And I love being able to provide this as a gift to you. You can go to podcastholly.com. That's podcastholly.com. We're going to do a deep dive into the R.O.C.K.Y framework, and then come over on Instagram and say hello. That's my playground. That's where I play. I love to play and have fun. Holly.Bertone, Bertone. It's Holly.Bertone on Instagram. And yeah, say hello. Let me know that you listened to this episode.
I love it. Holly, thank you again for being such an amazing guest. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I had so much fun. And I I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go listen to the special secret podcast because I want to learn a bit more. Maybe we'll have that free call to go over the results. But I want to thank you so much for being here. You're an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Phil. It's been great to connect with you and to connect with your listeners.
Amazing. To my audience, make sure you go check out the show notes because that's where all the links are. So you can listen to that free private podcast, and you can go and connect with Holly over on Instagram. And I want to thank you very much for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.